Greetings everybody, it is me, Arashi Sengoku, the creator of Fangang Nation. This is going to be a series of videos on tutorials of how to draw in Danganronpa style. I will warn you that in this tutorial there are going to be many spoilers. Of course not in just one video entirely, it's just several. Most likely, I'm going to be talking about Danganronpa 1, Danganronpa V3, and spoilers for Danganronpa New Despair. First, we're going to talk about brush sizes and brush tools. The first brush I want to talk about is the sketch brush. The sketch brush I love to use, just for plain old sketching, just to get character proportions correctly and to make sure everything's neat and organized. The min density, also known as min, I would usually keep at 50%, while the density I usually keep at 45%. Blending, usually at 50, and usually keep delusion 0, and persistence would most likely be around the 80s. This is very helpful because it's just sketching, getting those quick lines, making sure everything is skeleton, our joints are proportional and such, just getting the basics done. The second brush I would like to talk about is called the soft brush. The soft brush is used for a lot of blending in clothes and skin. The min size is 100, den size is around 51%. I usually keep blending at 3%, dilution at 15%, and persistence at 0%. This helps a lot, so like when you're getting in those nice colored shading and making sure that there's the shadow and the coolness, that everything's there neatly and it's pretty easy to use. Next, I want to talk about the flat brush. Flat brush is used a lot for motions and for quick attacks. The min size I usually keep at 100%. The density I would probably keep it around 44%, while blending is usually, I think, 60%? No, 6%. Dilution is at 8%, and persistence is at 9%. This is very helpful as I'm showing with backgrounds or quick movements, as how it will look like it's flashing or it's moving very quickly in one direction or so. And what's good about it is that you can blend it in with the original color besides black, so that way it looks really good. And yeah. The next brush, or airbrush, I'm going to be talking about is, I call it as a Danganronpa airbrush, but you could just call it airbrush or whatever fits your category. This I use for lines. Min size is again at 100, while the density is around 78%. I usually keep, there is no blending or dilution, but there is quality, which I usually keep at 1. Usually keep the edge hardness at 0, and the minimum density percent around 0 as well. Well, I keep the hardness and softness at 100%, and like I said before, it helps a lot with creating fine lines, so you won't get that fog or that you won't get that nice look or touch. Next I want to be talking about is the soft eraser. Usually I will keep it around, at least the minimum size is usually around 100. I'm sorry, I was recording and I got really confused when trying to find the min and the density. Anyways, the min size I usually keep at 60%, and that's about it. That's all you need. Just a nice clean erase, and making things fine. Alright, next I am going to be talking about heads and proportions, like sprite proportions. I'm gonna be using Sayaka Maizono, and I'm also using Lian Kuwata, being that they were the base characters in creating Danganronpa 1, and which is why they were also the first to kill. You can see that video by Weebly News. Great YouTuber, and gives you a lot of information on Danganronpa. Anyways, let's continue talking about sprites. So first we're going to be talking about the head. We're going to be talking about the average female. Usually the head is kind of small, very curvy, round, and the eyes usually around the middle of the face, and the ears tend to be a little above the eyes sometimes, but even sometimes below, depending on what type of female you're creating. Neck is usually a bit longer, and in Danganronpa, the shoulder size is usually about 2-3 heads. I know, kind of weird, but it's mostly to mirror the actual human proportion. I'll use an example using heads. Your heads are usually 1 inch or so, but you don't have to use them if you don't want. You could just use a ruler, or you could even use a grid. For me, this is easier and makes things faster for me sometimes. Yeah, usually 2-3 heads. If you're going for a smaller girl with a smaller chest size, I would go to 1 head. Torso is usually around 3-4 heads tall, and I think the hips is usually around 1.5, I believe. I don't remember. And then the legs are, to mirror humans, they're a little bit farther apart from the crotch area, but it's just to mirror human leg actuality. Next we're going to be talking about the breast size. Usually the breasts are near the shoulders, and for the arms, they tend to be a little wider, not wider, but a little farther apart from the actual body. So when you draw it, keep in mind that it's a little bit farther from the body than most anime drawn characters, and I think the arms are at least 1 to 2 heads long. Next we're going to be talking about the hair. Usually it's kind of like a wig. The point where the hair starts is usually a bit wider, not wider, but a little farther from the head. And it's pretty simple lines. You don't have to go full on crazy, being that it's just a sketch. So just use simple lines. And that's actually that's how you draw the average female in Danganronpa style. Next I'm going to be talking about the average male sizes. This is Lian Kuwata. I wasn't able to get a good picture from the base or the official artwork from the book I had. So things are a bit pixely. However, I will be using Saihara from Danganronpa V3. There he is. So he matches the average male proportions, a little feminine, but that's okay. There anyway. Alright, so first we're gonna first notice that the head is a bit longer, and a bit longer than most of the average girls, and the chin tends to be a bit pointier. Eye proportions are the same, and I believe the ears are a little bit lower. Then again, it's to your fitting. You could put it a little higher if you'd like to. Next, we're going to be talking about the torso and the leg. I would like to point out that the torso tends to be a bit longer, and I guess more square, rectangle-ish. Hold on, where to spot it? Oh, there it went. Hold on 1 second. And there we go. Sorry about that. So like I said before, we were talking about how the neck is a little bit wider than the girls, and a little bit shorter. And the shoulders tend to be a bit wider as well. They can be at least up to 3-4 inches, not inches, I apologize, heads wide. And the torso, like from the head down to the torso in general, is usually 5 to 4. And then the hips, I believe there are 3. Then again, it's up to you. But the shoulders can range from 2.5 to 4 heads wide, and heads tall is 4 to 5. Next we're going to be talking about the legs. They're just like in the female. They're to mirror the legs, so the legs tend to be a little bit wider from the crotch. I believe that the legs are more skinnier on men. So for a lot of females, around the thigh area is definitely wider than the men. Same with the arms. So arms are similar to the women. Arms are a bit farther apart from the actual body and tend to be 1 to 2 heads long. Yeah, and then same with the hair. It's still a bit farther apart from the actual sculpt, and you don't have to go into detail when creating it. Next, we're going to actually be talking about the hand, which is the most difficult thing to draw, especially in Danganronpa. But I'll give you a quick tip so that way it'll become more easier, and especially with anything besides Danganronpa, with any typical just hand drawing in general. Danganronpa, they usually go for the more realistic look with the hand and proportions. A lot of people believe that it's a pentagram or a circular square, but it's actually more than that. It is definitely a circular square, but there are two squares or 2 rectangles in general. The first 2 are for the ring and the pinky, and the other 2 is for the middle and the index finger, and the circle in the bottom is for the thumb. A lot of people tend to do the little circular things for thumbs, but for me that doesn't really work out. Some people even go for, I guess, the more rectangular part, which is kind of confusing to a lot of people, but in reality it's more round. I know that's how it works for me. Of course, you don't have to draw it like that, but with the circles it can confuse you a lot because you don't know how thick the finger is going to be unless you actually use it like how I'm showing right now. The thumb tends to be a bit longer in Danganronpa, but then again, it's to your own fitting. Even though this is a tutorial to draw in Danganronpa style, you could use your own methods, things that seem more easier for you to use. Anyways, thank you guys for watching so much. Please leave a like, comment, and please subscribe for more Fangan Nation content. I will also be letting you know that the next episode is going to be about blending and shading, so please prepare. Anyways, thank you guys. Goodbye.